So in my first 12 months selling these videos, I made $144,778 online and $74,552 in person. So in this video, I'm gonna teach you exactly how to do the same thing. Today, we're gonna talk about something that, honestly, not a lot of people talk about and not enough people talk about when it comes to being a creator, whether that is you do video, photography, being a designer, really anything creative. And it's something that is super important to me because it's something that I struggled with for 7 years. And the topic of today's video is really just how to make more money and how to make a living from what it is that you're doing as a creator. So let's start with a little backstory and introduction. Like why are we here right now, right? In 2016, I was in high school, I was a sophomore, and I spent all the money I had on a camera. It was $800 at the time. I bought a Canon Rebel T6i, I think. And with the kit lens and everything, it was not the most impressive camera, but you know what they say, the best camera is the one you have. And I really just started creating things. I started doing photography, videography, things like that. And I immediately resonated with that feeling of created, and I've been hooked ever since. For a long time, I wasn't charging any money, probably for like at least a year. I would just go out with friends, shoot things for fun, like I'm sure if you're watching this, a lot of you are doing or have done. And one day, I was in the kitchen, and I was telling her about a project I was doing, and she basically bullied me into starting to charge money for that. So my first paid project was a $200 music video that actually turned out like okay for the resources I had. At the time, I'd upgraded to a Sony a6500 because it was a lot better for video, and I decided that I want to go in the video route. And that's kind of where it all started, with a $200 music video in 2017. So about a year and a half ago from now, I was actually in between positions, and I decided to start making motion graphic videos. So up until this point, I'd only been doing stuff with the camera, which I very much enjoyed, but I needed something that I could sell to a broader market. And when you do the in-person video stuff, it's great and it's really fun, but I was getting restricted by how much I could charge, who I could work with, what equipment I had, and just really a bunch of things that it was hard for me to overcome when you talk about finding a solution. So I decided to start making some motion graphic videos, think like 20 to 60 seconds, and I would post them on Twitter and tag founders of technology companies on the videos. So I'd make these videos specifically for companies as ads and give them to them for free. This is the crazy part. Within just 2 or 3 months of doing that for free, I started landing clients, and I was making anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 per month just selling these videos online. And it's not as complicated as you think. All I did was I made these videos, tagged and messaged founders. The ones that liked it would actually buy a video from me, which at the time was $500 to $1,000. You sell a few a month and you're at $4,000 to $7,000, right? So I was making $4,000, then $6,000, then $8,000. And once I hit that threshold of, between 6 and 8, I had a really hard time actually scaling my business and myself because I hadn't had that experience before. So I went all in and spent $10,000 split on 2 credit cards on a agency scaling program. And that $10,000 over the course of the next 8 months taught me how to go from basically $3,000 to $30,000, right? So let's start by breaking down how much I made online specifically, and then we'll go to in-person. So over that 12 months, I made probably honestly more than this, but this is what I have tracked in like my software and everything. I made $144,778 with an average order value of about $2,600. Average order value means the average value of what a customer orders. So that would be like an individual video. is $2,600. And the price increments went from, I started selling them at 500, then I went to 1,000, 1,250, and so on and so forth. And it also depended on the length of video that I was selling a client. So a 20-second video was not the same price as a 45-second video, but we'll cover that later in this video. So how about in person? We made $74,552. And the reason that this happened, even though I was focused on the online stuff, is I actually ended up meeting some of the people that I met online. I actually ended up meeting them in person and selling them in-person services. So the way you go about this depends on what your current skill set is. If you don't have any equipment, don't know how to shoot videos in person, things like that, you can probably just skip over this part or ignore it. But I wanted to include this for the people that do have a camera, do want to do video production and things like that. So the breakdown of that $74,000 is basically a mix of retainers and per project, like one-time shoots, right? So the main one is I had a podcast retainer for $4,000. We would shoot an episode every week, so it's $1,000 per episode. And we did that, and that's something I'm still doing. I also have a couple retainers for shooting like social clips, and those are typically $1,000 per month. So these are kind of like the short form clips that you think about, that you see on social media. And then I also now, I forgot to mention on the online part, have a couple retainers for editing e-commerce user-generated content ads. So that, again, doesn't involve a camera or anything like that. And I actually didn't quote that in an online number. And then we have one-time shoots for in-person. So for example, I got paid $10,000 to shoot like a 10-hour event with like a second shooter and 6 cameras. It was just like a lot of stuff to organize. So that's why we got paid that. But you can really do anything you want in person. You can, like I said, podcasts, social clips for business people and creators. You can do one-time shoots for events. You can do weddings. You can do really anything that you enjoy doing. So don't be limited by online or in person. I think that combining the two of them is going to give you the best results and the best income. All right, so now that you know how much I made, let's talk about why I actually chose video specifically and what you can choose to sell yourself, because it doesn't have to necessarily be video, even though that's what this video is centered around. There's 3 main components to what service or digital product you are going to sell. Number 1 is something that you're good at or can get good at and you enjoy doing. So I chose video because I'd been doing it since 2016. So it's something I was already good at and I knew that I enjoyed doing it. The issue is if you choose something that you're not good at, no one's gonna buy from you. And if you don't enjoy doing it, you're not actually going to do it. So that's the first thing you need. The second thing you need is it has to be a service that you can turn into a product, which is often referred to in the community as a productized service. There's plenty of videos on this that you can look up. And the reason you want to do that is because instead of making a custom scope for everything, you are just going to sell something as a product and it's going to sell a lot more easily and people are going to be able to understand exactly what they're getting up front. For example, if you're selling websites, you could sell a 1-page website, a 3-page website, or 5-page website. So it's 3 separate products instead of actually custom scoping everything out. When you custom scope things, it just takes longer, it's messier, it's more confusing to people. And a lot of times I've also found people feel like they're getting nickel and dimed or overcharged because you have to kind of like line item everything that you're providing to them. And then the third thing is it has to be something that's gonna be in demand for a long time. Video is not going away and it never will. If you look at the growth of YouTube and ads and things like that, video is becoming more and more important for businesses and people to use every day. If you compared that with something like me selling, this is an extreme example, but like newspapers or something, right? Those are not gonna be around for more than, another 5-10 years. So you wanna be in an industry that has tailwinds so that you can grow with that industry instead of essentially just going out of business. All right, next let's talk about what you need to be successful, because there are another 3 key components here to being successful. And this is talking about you as a person, not about what you're selling. The first thing you need that I have found, not only myself, but basically every other business owner that I talk to has success off of, is good organic and paid content. So what does this mean? I mentioned that earlier I was selling my videos on Twitter, and I've actually directly made most of my money just from Twitter. The reason is because I had good organic content, and once I knew I had good organic content, I started pushing it with paid ads. There's a few mechanisms to doing this. One, it shows people what you do and that you're actually good at it. Two, it gets people interested, if it's good content, in what you're doing, so they'll follow you, and then you'll then be able to nurture them as a prospect through your content. And the third is you actually get to test out the market a little bit. So if I made a post about videos and I wrote a thread about scripting versus a thread about like storyboarding or something like that, and a bunch of people were interested in the second post but not the first post, I then know to lean into the second topic more than the first topic and integrate that into my services. So you get to also kind of test the market out for free when you're making this content. The second thing that you need as a person is you need to have a specific value to offer, right? So for me, it was, in terms of the creative department, selling videos. So what is your specific value gonna be, and how are you gonna position that value against other people? I wasn't just selling videos, I was selling motion graphic videos for a specific type of company that were a specific length and had a specific style that you could do a specific thing with the video in terms of like pushing it as a paid ad for a company, right? So a lot of times in the industry, people will call this niching down, but you really just need to have something specific to offer that people value. If you're trying to sell something and people don't value it, they're not gonna buy it. It's as simple as that. And the third and final thing, which I guess I wouldn't say it's a necessity, and it sounds cliche because a lot of people talk about it, but it does really, really help to have network connections. So when I was making my first $4,000 to $7,000 a month, a big reason that actually happened is because for a couple months temporarily, I took on someone who believed in me as a rev share partner to introduce me to other people. So he took 25% of the revenue that was made, and he introduced me to other people that basically got me to 7K a month in like my second month. That would not have been the case if I didn't meet him. I probably still would have been at half that revenue level then. And then after I worked with him, I met a bunch of people on Twitter, and they were reputable people in the industry, and they reposted my stuff. They introduced me to other people, other business owners, and things like that. So to recap, you need good organic and paid content. You need a specific value to offer, and it really, 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 really helps to have network connections. So let's talk about who you're actually gonna work with. And this is something I learned the hard way, actually, when I had my real estate license, but there's a very big difference between working with businesses versus working with people. When you work with businesses, businesses have money. They have budgets allocated towards marketing. And even depending on the size of the company, within the marketing budget, they might have a budget allocated specifically to what you're selling. For example, again, if you're selling websites, a lot of companies probably actually have a line item in their budget for like website maintenance, website updates, things like that. What that's gonna do is when you go to pitch these companies or offer your value, it's gonna make it a lot easier of a sale because they already have it budgeted out and they know that it's a need. If you're gonna sell a website to an individual, a lot of times they don't have a budget and they're using their own money, which means they're running off of emotions. So now you're talking about more like being someone's therapist than entering a business relationship with a business. So that's called B2B versus B2C, business to business versus business to consumer. I highly, 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 highly recommend trying to work with businesses. The only exception with that rule is if you are specifically working with like higher end creators who would be individuals, because they kind of run their identity in themselves as B2B, right? As a business and as a brand. So keep that in mind when you're selling. Always try to sell to businesses instead of people. You'll operate, your business clients will also operate on objectives rather than emotions, and budgets instead of somebody's individual wallet. All right, before we wrap up, let's talk about mistakes to avoid, mistakes that I wish I wouldn't have made. And the first one is not putting clients on a recurring plan, otherwise a lot of people call as like a retainer, right? So what a retainer is it gives you a recurring revenue. So every month, I'm giving someone a set number of videos and they're paying me a specific amount for those videos every month that I'm delivering. The reason this is super important is if you want your income to be consistent and or if you want to sell your business in the future, you're gonna need that recurring revenue. There were months where I would make like $24,000 and the next month I would make like 15. That's almost a $10,000 fluctuation from month to month in how much I'm making. And honestly, we're all people at the end of the day. And as much as you try not to get your emotions involved in the swings of business, it happens to everyone. And that's why entrepreneurship is one of the hardest things. A lot of people call it a roller coaster, right? So if you can, try to get people on like a recurring plan, a retainer, or something like that, and even try to get them to commit to, 2 to 3 months. A really good angle for that is, we're looking for mutual success here. And in order to do that, we have to work with our clients for a minimum of 3 months to get familiar with your brand and things like that, right? So try to get people on a retainer. You'll find lots of opinions on this. Some people are like, that's overrated and all this stuff, and other people swear by it. So just something to keep in mind is trying to build recurring revenue wherever you can. My second mistake, or I guess regret that I didn't do, is not getting rev share from the videos. So what rev share is essentially, so you'll get paid a flat fee for your services, but instead of just ending that fee, you'll also get basically like a commission, a recurring commission for what you're doing. So a really good example of this, especially when it comes to video, is like YouTube ads. So I know a guy who runs YouTube ads agency. His name's Brian Makata. He's killing it. Shout out to him. He gets paid based on the performance of his video ads on YouTube, and his clients are paying to push those ads. So instead of just getting paid a flat fee for every video they edit, they're getting paid based on the performance of the videos. And that can result in tens of thousands of dollars in additional revenue per month. Third regret, which I guess I don't necessarily regret it because it's a lesson learned, but spending money on ads too quickly. So I started running Twitter ads for, I think I was spending like $2,000 to $3,000 a month when I was making like $7,000 a month, right? Again, people have varying opinions on this, but if you're spending upwards of 30 to 50% of your top line revenue on ads, it's not really sustainable, especially when you don't know what you're doing. What ended up happening is I ended up turning them off after a certain duration of time because it was burning my cash flow too quickly. So ads are actually a great way to scale. You just have to do it the right way. Alex Hormozy talks about you can even put it on a credit card as long as your you have positive customer acquisition costs, meaning someone pays you up front and that covers what you're spending on ads on the credit card. And the final thing is doing everything yourself until you burn out. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to hire people, right? Earlier in my business, I probably could have hired people to do kind of like more menial tasks so that I could spend more time editing videos and building the business. But you live and you learn, and yeah, it's not anything that actually, destroyed my business, but never be afraid to ask for help or hire help. So what are some helpful resources for your next steps? Well, I would like to thank the sponsor of this video, which is me. I don't have any sponsors yet, so you can find a couple links below the video. I have actually a course that teaches you how to make these same videos, the motion graphics videos that you've seen in this video. So if you want to learn how to essentially make those within 30 days, go down to the link and you'll find the Video Vitals, Motion Vitals course down there. And that's designed how to teach you how to make these videos within 30 days so that you can basically do the same thing that we covered in this video that I was able to do, right? Also, please subscribe. I'm newer here on this channel, and hopefully you're getting some value out of this. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.